The following is an EHC media production.
Hi everyone, Ebeza here, and just want to let you know about my two YouTube channels that you might like. First, I have a WWE related channel. I play WWE games, I talk about WWE, the real product and all that sort of stuff. And the other channel, I just play a wider variety of games. The links are in the description of this video, so please head on over and check me out. Thanks very much.
EWA.
Do you play WWE 2K18 on the PS4? Would you like to play against other like-minded players in a very unique online league that's unique because we are more committed to storylines than just a straight-up competitive league. The league is still very competitive, but we also try to run things like a bit of a TV show. Check out the YouTube channel and the Facebook page in the description below if you're interested. Hello and welcome to RWT UK Episode 2 on Raw Wrestling Talk on the podcast channel, I guess is what it is. I am your host, Mike Ebeza, and I am British, and that is the only qualification I have to host this show. So, without further ado, let's get into it. By the way, before we do get into it, actually, in the description will be links to my two YouTube channels. Please go and check me out. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you've missed it, go back and check out my thoughts on the first Nxt UK episode that was uploaded last week. And don't forget to join the RWT Facebook group so you can discuss NXT UK with me. You can discuss it with everyone else there. You can discuss everything else about wrestling with everyone there, including me and all the other hosts of all the various podcasts that go on this channel. Now, cheap plugging out of the way, let's get down to business. We kick things off with Ligero, who I remember as El Ligero. I made a point in the first episode of saying I think there was 3 guys I'd ever seen live. How many was there on this episode? How many wrestlers were there that I have seen live and in person? I mean, Noam Dar was on the show, but he wasn't wrestling. But if we count him, that's 2. The other one is Ligero, who used to be El Ligero and never used to wear a Union Jack mask. He always used to wear the bull horns mask. But I don't know when it switched over to being a Union Jack bull horns. But that's what it is now. One thing I did think that never crossed my mind when I used to watch him wrestle on UK Indies, how do you powerbomb that guy? Because, like, surely his horns get, like, stuck, like, between your legs and stuff. Anyway, maybe that's why he wears it. Maybe it's a powerbomb defense. So he was taking on the wild boar Mike Hitchman. I'm sorry, is this early 1990s WCW? What is that gimmick? What is that gimmick? Why did they point out, oh my god, look at his eyes. Yes, he's got contact lenses in. Wonderful. He looks so scary with contact lenses in. He had that stupid mask and that stupid entrance attire. Luckily, he took that off to actually wrestle in. Yeah, wow. Oh, one other thing, there was I don't know if this is a thing internationally, but it's definitely a thing in the UK. You know the pinch emoji? Where it's like your first finger and your thumb tip touching, and then the other 3 fingers up, and it's like an OK symbol. Well, if you do that below waist height in the UK and someone looks at it, something bad happens. I don't know. I've never really understood what the consequence is. Just everyone always seems annoyed when it happens. It goes back to like school kid days. Like it was a thing in school. But I honestly don't. I don't know. I don't know if it meant you were gay or something. I don't know. But back when that was an insult, because who the hell cares these days? Ligero had one of those on his trunk, so under his waist height. I noticed that, so clearly I'm... whatever bad happens when you spot that happens to me. Well done him. Brilliant meme. That's quality. I don't know if he always has that, because I'm not familiar with him recently. Like I say, the last time I saw Ligero, he didn't have the Union Jack mask when the... was he in the UK Championship tournament? Maybe the second one? Whenever he first showed up on WWE TV anyway and he had that mask, I was a bit like, whoa, that's new. I thought it was just for the UK tournament. Maybe it was. Maybe that was when he started doing it, when he signed for WWE. I really don't know. But I don't remember him having a bit of a trap on his trunks either. So, yeah, fun times. This was a decent enough match. Fairly standard match, you know, luchador style, you know, small guy against bigger guy, you know, strength versus speed. I noticed that the Wild Boar fella did a pop-up powerbomb, and this would have been before Kevin Owens was out injured, so I wonder what Mr. Owens thinks of that, because there is sort of like an unwritten rule within your company to not use top guys, or any guys really, finishes just as a standard spot in a match. It's sort of like a courtesy thing, I guess. So yeah, there was a pop-up powerbomb in the match. Ligero got the win. There is a bit of a general theme going on in this so far, where I think the vast majority of the matches are being won by babyfaces at the moment. I think they're just trying to cement everyone, and I think overall heels can take a loss and just bounce back better than faces, so I think that's what they're doing for the most part. The only loss I can think of by a face was Unclean. It was the first match, actually. Who was it who lost to one of the coffees? Mark Andrews, who's fairly well established, and he didn't lose clean. So yeah, I feel like that's the pattern they're going with at the moment. They also seem to be in a bit of a pattern where they are building some slight storylines, but it's a lot of just like match, which is great if the matches are top quality and do end up going somewhere and telling a story. But at the moment, I feel like the show does need a little bit more story development and a bit more consistent story development. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I certainly feel it needs it. His springboard tornado DDT is nice. Honestly, it's been so long since I watched Ligero, I couldn't honestly tell you what his finisher used to be. I don't know if that's always been his finisher. But yeah, it looked pretty nice. The match, like I say, pretty standard. Smaller good guy versus bigger bad guy kind of match. Ligero with the win. Up next, it was the token women's match that's going to be on every single show, regardless of whether there's a need for it or not. Dakota Kai, who's obviously a reasonably big thing in NXT these days, you know, like main NXT, not NXT UK, beat Killer Kelly. And one thing I did notice was they seem to be building this NXT UK women's division around two women who aren't even from the right hemisphere. And that's not me having a problem with people from outside the UK being in this, because Killer Kelly is Portuguese. I don't have a problem with that. Travis Banks is obviously from down under. Is he New Zealand like Dakota Kai? I think. I'm not sure. I don't have a problem with that. The only reason I wrote this down and noticed this was, does the UK actually have any good women? Because if they don't, and you have to bring in purely foreigners to run the division, they might as well be in the NXT women's division and just not have a women's division on the UK show. I know it's 2018 and women's evolution and all this stuff, but when you force it, it just becomes lip service. It just becomes, well, yeah, we wanted a UK women's division, but there's not really any women wrestlers in the UK that are up to scratch, so we're just going to use a load of foreign ones. And it's like, well, it's not a UK division then. You know, a division that's got a couple of imports, fine, I get that. That's understandable, but I don't understand when basically we've seen 4 women so far. The least impressive that got squashed the easiest was the Brit, and then the other 3 aren't. And it's like, what's the point in the division if it's not what it's advertising? You know, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, so Kai won. This was an even more bog standard formula match than the opening match, to be honest. This was all heel beat down face, face comeback, face win, and that you know that's all I wrote down. It's yeah, there's nothing really exciting about it. This is what I was saying, where you need to build those stories if the matches are just going to be, you know, 5 to 7 minutes standard, nothing amazing, nothing outstanding matches. Like you need story outside of the match in that case. She cut a promo afterwards, saying she loves wrestling in the UK the most. Of course, you're going to say that when you're in the UK. And she wants the women's title, which, of course you do, because it's an option at the moment, whereas the other women's title is currently tied up. So, of course, you're going for the easy one where there's no actual British women to fight for it. Basically, the UK women's division is going to be Dakota Kai and Toni Storm fighting each other endlessly. Like it seems. I don't know. Maybe there are some that are going to come out of the woodwork, but I can't remember from my time going to UK Indies ever seeing many women wrestlers at all, and certainly none that really stick out in my mind as being like something amazing. So I don't know. Let me know what you think of that. I'm not trying to be like controversial and say there shouldn't be a division or these damn foreigners coming here and taking our jobs. You know, they took their jobs. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it is a UK women's division, which currently doesn't seem like it's going to be strongly featuring any women from the UK. It's sort of like having a tag team division made up entirely of singles wrestlers having singles matches, or having a women's division made up entirely of men. Or it's pointless. Like you have to fill the division with what you're advertising the division as. Cruiserweights that are all £300. I don't know. It'd all be stupid, but this one's apparently fine. I don't know. Let me know what you think, if you think it's a problem, in the comments. Right, next we had another Eddie Dennis video package, like we did last week, where he was talking about being friends with Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews. He talked about how he was getting promoted to being a principal, which is, again, it's not America. US, US terminology in a UK show is a bit cringy. I don't know. Last week we had them talk about soccer kicks, and it's like, well, it's football, like you're English. But yeah, he'd talk about becoming like a head teacher in a prestigious school whilst being friends with the still living at home teenagers Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews, and that just made him seem weird. Not gonna lie, that just made him seem really odd. I get where they're going with this. He's a bitter ex-friend. He's annoyed that they both got the opportunity and he didn't, and And I still feel like Andrews is going to be his first target, because I just don't see this guy going straight into the UK title picture, and that's where Pete Dunne is. So he's got to at least go through Mark Andrews first. Which that whole situation is starting to look very convoluted. We'll get to that shortly when we talk about the Travis Banks promo on the show. But yeah, they said, oh, he seems like a very complex individual. No, he's bitter heel because his friends have done better than him. That's not complex. That's very straightforward storytelling. I don't know. Up next, someone gave Zach Gibson a microphone. Why? What on earth have humanity done to deserve that? Like, I don't want to alienate a certain demographic, shall we say, and I'm going to anyway. I hate that accent. I just can't listen to it. It's like whenever they say a K sound, it's and it sounds like a cat coughing up a fur ball, and it goes through me. It's nothing personal. I've actually known quite a lot of people from Liverpool that have been very nice. I just find it very difficult to speak to them, or more importantly, to have them speak to me, because it goes through me. I can't watch what's that comedian called? John Bishop. I can't watch him because his accent goes through me. The one thing I will say, the saving grace of this promo was the promo was half decent and the crowd was just brilliant. It's kind of like we're doing this because it's the cool thing to do, but it's still, it's still heat for a heel at the end of the day. So brilliant. I love the stand up if you hate Gibson and the shoes off if you hate Gibson promos. The only thing I would say is, to the cameraman who clearly found that confused girl very attractive, she was the wrong person to keep looking at, as she had no idea what was going on. Everyone around her was either standing up or waving the shoes around and chanting, And she's just there looking at her friends like, what are you doing? You aren't the people I know. And and the camera just went to her, I think twice during the course, like once in each chant, if you like, and focused on the one person in the building who wasn't joining in because she didn't get it. And it just tickled me, like, you could have zoomed in on any other individual person in the building and it would have been better than her. Just because the cameraman had a crush, clearly, or someone in the production wanted to keep showing her and had a crush on her. I don't know, but she just looked like befuddled. The only explanation I can honestly think of why is if she eventually comes into play and she's his girlfriend and ends up being his manager, his valet, if you like. It's the only thing I can think of. But she looked genuinely befuddled. He didn't acknowledge her. I don't know. If something comes of it, then fair enough, I'll retract all of this, but I would put money on it not happening, and it was just bad camera work and production. I don't know. But yeah, the promo was at least made vaguely entertaining by the crowd. Then Noam Dar comes down, because Zach Gibson did a lot of tearing into Noam Dar for losing to Pete Dunne last week. And they're clearly trying to build like at least a micro feud between them. Who knows? We'll find out next week how far this feud's going to go, because they're going to face off, which should be fun. I don't mind Zach Gibson when he's not got a microphone in his hand, to be honest. And I don't mind Noam Dar. I don't think I said last week I called him overrated. That doesn't mean I don't rate him. That doesn't mean I think he's bad. It just means I don't think he's as good as I've been told he is, countless times. But I'm looking forward to that match. I think that'll be quite a good match. I really do. Yeah, when Noam Dar came out to confront him, though, Johnny Saint comes out, and you think, oh, right, okay, so the GM gets involved, and he's going to, like, say, oh, let's have a match right now, or let's save it for next week, boys, you know, and da-da-da-da-da, or something. You know, he's going to do something. But no, he just says, you two, in my office now. And it's like, I'm trying to think of the words. That's why you've just got sudden silence. I'm you know when people motion with the hands but can't get the words to come out? That's what I'm doing right now, even though you can't see me. It's supposed to be all of this stuff is supposed to be taken care of publicly. Like, that's the reason why someone comes out to a wrestling ring when his girlfriend's cheated on him with another wrestler. He comes out to a wrestling ring, grabs a microphone, and tells 10,000 people about it. That's the suspense of disbelief. Instead of just finding him in his hotel room the night after he finds out and knocking on and saying room service, then beating him up when there's no cameras about. This is the disbelief we have to suspend to watch pro wrestling. It all takes place in the ring, or at least backstage when there's a camera present. And just to come out and say, you two, my office, and sort of make... I don't know if they were trying to make it feel like this was legit heat, and that's why they weren't taking care of it, but no one's being fooled by that if that's what they're trying to do, because no one does theme music hit, so someone knew he was supposed to come out. You know, like... and he was dressed in his wrestling gear, he was ready to wrestle. I don't know, like... It just struck me as weird that... I don't know if they're not confident in Johnny Saint cutting GM promos yet, so they're easing him into it, if that's like the real reason. But in terms of like a kayfabe reason, I don't know like why you don't deal with that out in the ring in front of everyone. You know, like I don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, moving on. Right, so Travis Banks had a promo, and I quite like Travis Banks. I've only seen him briefly. In WWE, basically, in like the UK tournament and what have you. And he said about... I really don't remember this tournament very vividly at all. And I said last week I need to go back and rewatch it. I really do. I don't think I've seen all of it, to be honest. But he said something about the Coffees attacking him at it. And I don't remember that. So definitely going to go back and watch. But the thing that confused me about this is, doesn't that now make it 3-on-2? Because the Coffees tried to beat up Mark Andrews, and Flash Morgan Webster, I couldn't think of his name then, came out and saved him. So that was like looking like it was going to be like a bit of a 2-on-2 tag team feud. Now Travis Banks is after the Coffees, so is that 3-on-2? But also you've got Eddie Dennis. I said we'd come back to him when we talk about Travis Banks. Eddie Dennis is seemingly after Mark Andrews. So is it a 3-on-3 feud? Is it like some weird? Are we gonna have a Survivor Series match? Are they gonna build it that much? By the like, add Pete Dunne in because Eddie Dennis doesn't like him, and then you can add Zach Gibson in for talking trash about how he would have beat Pete Dunne if he was fresh, and then you could add Noam Darvin because he's got an issue with Zach Gibson, and I don't know. You just need some other heel now to jump into it. I don't know, but yeah, it's I don't know where they're going with this, but it seems to be a very the one of the few programs they seem to be trying to build seems to be getting very convoluted very quickly. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it and we're never going to see any interaction between the Coffees and Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster again. Or maybe Mark Andrews isn't going to be involved and it's going to be Flash Morgan Webster who helps Travis Banks, and it's going to be kind of him versus the Coffees and Banks versus the Coffees at the same time, and they end up being sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of. I don't know. I really don't know where they're going with this, but it's a bit. It's not interesting enough to be this convoluted at this point. Like, it needs to be more gripping to be a bit vague, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, up next, Ashton Smith. What a memorable, phenomenal megastar name that is. Against Tucker. I missed his entrance. I was looking at my phone. Is that his first name, his surname, his entire name? Is it like Madonna? I don't know. But they only referred to it. I was listening throughout the whole match trying to figure out who this guy was. And I never got another name other than Tucker. So I'm going to say he's just called Tucker for this. Apparently he was in the UK Championship tournament. I don't remember him. I vaguely remember Ashton Smith. Vaguely, very vaguely. This was actually quite a decent match. I didn't mind this match. Smith gets the win. With his, it's like a ripcord DDT, but I don't think it went right. I think the opponent's supposed to spin onto his face and land face down like a standard DDT, but this basically just looked like a Scorpion Death Drop, but he was holding his arm. So I'm not sure that went perfectly, but yeah, it was an alright match. Again, the whole show was just, up to this point at least, was just full of alright matches, decent matches, standard storytelling matches. Nothing stood out particularly, nothing special. It was just okay. It was all just okay, which is a bit disappointing. But they're finding the feet, you know. They're figuring out what the show's going to be like. Is it going to end up like NXT? Is it going to end up like Raw, but in the UK? Like, what's the focus going to be? Is it going to be like all the skits and the storylines, or is it going to be mostly wrestling focused? And if it's going to be mostly wrestling focused, you need to let them wrestle more. Like, that's my thing, is the mediocre sort of 5 to 7 or maybe even 10-minute matches that just tell a very bog standard story aren't doing any favours to anyone, because there's no backstory to them, there's no real story being established during the match, and there's no story being established after the match, for the most part. So, yeah. Anyway, Danny Burch is coming to NXT UK, which I was a bit surprised by, because he's in a tag team with a non-UKite, with an American, in actual NXT, so I figured he was just going to be on main NXT, but WWE showing they're not afraid to sort of cross-brand a bit, you know, like they've got Noam Dar, who's 205 Live, but he's also been on both episodes of NXT UK so far, and Danny Burch is on NXT proper. Pete Dunne is on NXT proper, but he's the champion. Tyler Bates on NXT proper a lot, you know, so they're not afraid to do that crossover, and I quite like that. It keeps people busy, you know, keeps people in the forefront of the fans' minds and what have you. From what I've seen in NXT, I quite like Danny Burch. Let's not forget that tag title match with Burch and Oney Lorcan against the Undisputed Era. That was a really good match. Like, really good. Like, top-notch. Great tag match. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in NXT UK. I wouldn't even mind him bringing Oney Lorcan with him. Like, the friends. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to have, like, a tag team where one's British and one's American. So, in the UK show, the American just kind of serves mostly as his manager and occasional tag partner. And then in the main NXT show, they're a tag team. I think that'd be kind of cool, but we'll see. Right, and it was announced Zach Gibson against Noam Dar for next week. I still don't know why they couldn't just have done that for the live crowd at the point. You know, why couldn't Johnny Saint just come, right, hang on, you two, no, we're not doing this now. Next week, you two, one-on-one, main event, done. Why couldn't they just have done that? Like, I don't get it. But anyway, so that match is going to be next week. That'll be fun. Right. The main event, Wolfgang versus Tyler Bate. When I saw this, when the show came on, and I think they announced this at some point, I thought, that could be quite good. It might have been in the synopsis before I even loaded it up, I'm not sure. But I thought, I'm looking forward to that. That could be a good match. And yeah, it was. It was the best match of the show by a good stretch. It was also the longest match of the show. Probably not a coincidence. One thing that really tickled me that I wrote down, Wolfgang being upset. Wolfgang was in the ring complaining to the referee about Tyler Bate posing during his entrance. After Wolfgang had walked down to the ring and howled and put his W up like 3 or 4 times. And fist bump fans, even though he's clearly the heel in this situation and clearly trying to be a heel at the moment. And then Tyler Bate poses once and Wolfgang's like, how dare he do that? How could... And it's not like Tyler Bate was mocking Wolfgang directly, like doing Wolfgang's taunt. He was just doing his standard twirl my mustache, and then he kind of does this one arm, almost Hulk Hogan-esque pose, doesn't he? Where he's got like one arm bent and one arm out straight. And Wolfgang was most offended by that. And it just tickled me. It was like, right, he's not even taunting directly at you. He's just posing for the crowd. Like, I don't know why it tickled me so much that I had to bring it up, but it did. Yeah, the match was good. There was good storytelling. Again, it was mostly just a standard storyline of, you know, bigger guy beating down smaller guy who's quite strong in this case, struggling to do his strength moves because he's, you know, had his ribs hurt and he's suffering and what have you. But it was good storytelling. It was good selling by Tyler Bate, struggling to do a lot of the moves that he normally does and stuff like that. Tyler Bate picks up the clean win. Did anyone think it was going any other way? I don't know. I think, was this whole show... I think Ashton Smith was the babyface in his match, wasn't he? Yeah, this whole show was just babyface wins. And I think the last show... I mean, I don't know if you count Dunn as an out-and-out babyface, but that was face versus face, I would say. I don't know what Dave Mastiff is. That show was certainly more heelish than this one. This one was very, very, you know, clean-cut babyface wins. But it's not always a bad thing. It was. I enjoyed the show overall. I felt like a lot of the matches could have been given a little longer or a little bit of reason for us to care about it, I guess. But at the same time, I understand it's episode 2 and you can't just go in. They do have some pre-made, ready-made storylines because, you know, they've had the 2 tournaments, so they can sort of continue from that. A few of these guys have appeared on NXT and what have you, so they could have tapped into existing storylines a bit and just had the commentary fill us in. And maybe even video packages potentially, I don't know. I'm looking forward to, once this is all settled down, it's been going for a few months and we're in the swing of things, I think I'll enjoy it a lot more than just a random selection of matches. I have no shame in admitting I am a sports entertainment guy, much more so than a wrestling guy. I like a good wrestling match. When I watch a really good wrestling match, I really do enjoy it, but I enjoy that storyline side of wrestling as well. So I'm looking forward to it being a little bit more of a mix of the two. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the show. Feel free to start a discussion. And as I said, join the RWT Facebook group. The link will be in the description. Join up and let's have a discussion in there if you so wish as well. Leave a like. It's greatly appreciated, not just by me to let me know that you've enjoyed this episode, but also it really benefits the channel and all the other podcasts on it. Check out all the other great podcasts. Pretty much every WWE show, I think, has a designated podcast at this point with a different host, and there's other stuff outside of WWE. I believe there's a New Japan one. I'm not sure what else is currently covered because it's a lot to keep up with. But the stuff that you're interested in, keep up with it. You know, subscribe and check out the other hosts. It'd be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to share with your friends if you think they would enjoy what we're doing here. But for now, standard outro. All I have left to say is thank you very much for listening. As always, I've been Ebeza, you've been amazing, and I will see you next week.